Today on the Daily Scoop podcast from the Scoop News Group, OPM CIO Greg Hogan has left the role, and Stephen Ehikian leaves GSA to be CEO of a leading AI firm. It's Friday, September 5th, 2025. Welcome to the Daily Scoop podcast, where you'll hear the latest news and trends facing government leaders. I'm the host of the Daily Scoop podcast, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for joining me. All right, let's dive into the day's top headlines. Greg Hogan is out as the Chief Information Officer of the Office of Personnel Management after roughly 7.5 months on the job. Hogan was installed at the Human Capital Agency on the first day of President Donald Trump's second administration, replacing Melvin Brown II after roughly a week on the job. According to an OPM spokeswoman, Hogan departed the agency earlier this week, and Perrin Ashmore, who is currently Assistant Director of Enterprise Learning at the agency, is currently serving as CIO in an acting capacity. Although very little about Hogan's background was shared by the agency, a legal filing and a challenge brought by current and former federal employees over Department of Government Efficiency access to OPM data provided some details. According to that document, Hogan was the Vice President of Infrastructure at AI, a self-driving car software company, before joining the Trump administration. He also told the court that he had 20 years of experience in private sector IT and a computer engineering degree. He also confirmed that he started his service at OPM on January 20th. Hogan was often associated with DOGE efforts, but in that same legal declaration with his background, he said he wasn't part of the U.S. DOGE service, formerly known as the U.S. Digital Service. Still, Hogan served as CIO during a time when the agency was a hub for the DOGE work. Efforts specifically related to Hogan's role included establishing an ability to send emails to all federal employees and providing access to OPM data by DOGE workers, both of which have faced legal challenges. And now turning to other news, Stephen Ehikian, the Deputy Administrator of the General Services Administration, has left the agency to take over as Chief Executive Officer at enterprise AI application software company C3.ai. Ehikian told GSA staff earlier this week in an email obtained by FedScoop that he would transition out of the agency's deputy administrator role but remain an advisor to the leadership team during the transition process. On Wednesday, C3.ai announced Ehikian's hiring as CEO. He said in a statement that he is honored to join the company, quote, at such a pivotal time in the AI era, unquote. Ehikian served as GSA's acting head for the first half of the year until July, when President Donald Trump tapped State Department leader Michael Regas for the role, and Ehikian moved formally back into the deputy spot. Edward Forrest, a longtime financial services executive, was nominated by Trump in July to serve as the next administrator of the GSA. A nomination hearing date has not been scheduled, according to congressional records. Ehikian, referred to as a serial entrepreneur by the GSA, helped found two AI-powered platforms that were both acquired by Salesforce previously. He also worked in finance at Morgan Stanley, Westbrook Partners, and SRS Investment Management. In GSA's announcement of his departure, Ehikian gave a statement pointing to GSA's overhaul of the Federal Acquisition Regulation, a more than 2,000-page document detailing the regulations and rules for federal procurement, as one of his top accomplishments. He also mentioned the FedRAMP 20X revamp program, which aims to reduce the FedRAMP approval timeline from months to weeks. During his time at GSA, the agency has also rolled out a series of deals under the OneGov procurement strategy involving major tech companies like Microsoft, OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google. For more news at the intersection of the federal government and technology, make sure to visit fedscoop.com. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Daily Scoop podcast, available on all podcast platforms. If you've already rated the podcast on your platform of choice, thanks so much. High ratings and good reviews of the show help more people to find it. The Daily Scoop podcast is a production of the Scoop News Group in Washington, D.C. Adam Butler and Carlin Fisher help put the show together, and the entire Scoop News Group team contributes. We'll be back next week with more top headlines. Until then, I'm your host, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for listening.